All right, so today we're going to break down what on the surface looks like a pretty fantastic FA Cup result for Liverpool. But as you're about to see, a huge win on the scoreboard can sometimes hide a story that's a whole lot more complicated and maybe even a little worrying. Let's get into it.
4-1. I mean, come on. That's a brilliant result, right? It looks like a completely dominant performance, a nice, comfortable win against a team from a lower league, and you've punched your ticket to the next round. It's pretty much everything you could ask for. Or is it?
Well, hold on a second. If the result was so good, why on earth did this match spark so much debate and, frankly, concern among the fans? That's the real question here, and that's what we're going to unpack. Okay, so the first piece of the puzzle in understanding all this post-match anxiety comes down to the team's whole attitude, especially in that first half. It all boils down to one very dangerous word: complacency. Yeah, the analysis here is pretty blunt. The feeling was that Liverpool just went into this game way too relaxed, like they were looking down on their opponent. They basically walked out onto the pitch at Anfield expecting a walk in the park, and that set a really bad tone right from the opening whistle. And you could literally see how that casual attitude played out on the field. The play was sluggish and slow. There was almost no intense pressing, and the midfield just couldn't get a grip on the game's rhythm. All of this created these huge gaps in the defense and gave Barnsley way too much space to do their thing. And, well, you know what happens next. That complacency came back to bite them. Right before halftime, Barnsley scores, and Anfield just goes dead silent. It was a proper shock to the system, a huge wake-up call for everyone, the players, the fans, who suddenly realized they might be on the wrong end of a classic FA Cup upset. And the thing is, this isn't some new, shocking problem. The fans even have a name for it: the same old sickness. It's this incredibly frustrating pattern where whenever Liverpool comes up against a team they're supposed to beat easily in a cup match, all that fire and intensity that makes them so good just evaporates. So, let's jump to the second half. Now, Liverpool did turn it around and win, and they won comfortably. But it's how they won that brings us to the second big point of drama. The whole victory was built on individual quality, not on a solid team system. And this line just says it all. The team didn't win because of some brilliant tactical plan or perfect teamwork. Nope. They won because, man for man, their players were just on a completely different level than their opponents. So how'd they manage the comeback? Well, this slide lays it out perfectly. It's like a switch flipped after halftime. Liverpool finally woke up. They cranked up the intensity, started pressing like their lives depended on it, and basically just let their raw talent overpower Barnsley. It was less about strategy and more about brute force, and eventually the goals started coming. And this, of course, leads to the massive million-dollar question for the rest of the season. I mean, it's one thing to pull this off against a team from a lower division, but if they try this against a top Premier League team, can they really count on moments of individual magic to bail them out every single time? That just doesn't feel like a sustainable plan. Which brings us perfectly to the third and final reason for all the worry. An issue that's still there even when you win: the state of the defense. Look, conceding a goal is just part of the game, but letting one in against a team from a lower division, especially with the way it happened, is seen as a huge warning sign. It wasn't just some nice consolation goal for Barnsley. It was a symptom of a much deeper, ongoing issue. Let's just break down that goal for a second. It was completely preventable. You had clear positional errors, players who were just a step too slow in reading the play, and in the end, they just let the other guy have an easy shot on goal. It was a total breakdown in focus and discipline. So when you put it all together, the complacency, the over-reliance on individual talent, the shaky defense, all hidden behind a big 4-1 win, how did the fans react? Well, as you can probably guess, they were totally split down the middle. And this just shows the two sides perfectly. On one hand, you've got the pragmatists, the a win is a win crowd. For them, hey, they're in the next round. They rested some key guys, and nobody got hurt. Mission accomplished. But then you have the other camp who watched the exact same game and thought the performance was seriously worrying. They saw a leaky defense, inconsistent focus, and they knew that a sharper, top-tier team would have made them pay for those mistakes. Which brings us to the final verdict, the one line that really ties this all together. That 4-1 scoreline is deceiving. It's a number that looks fantastic on paper, but it's really just masking a performance that was, for long stretches, pretty concerning. So, at the end of the day, instead of this win building confidence and momentum, it kind of did the opposite. It left the fan base with a lot more questions than answers about where this team is really at and if they're ready for the much tougher games down the road.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Can a victory like this one, a win that was born out of complacency and saved by individual brilliance instead of a disciplined system, can that really be a building block for real long-term success? Well, I suppose only time will tell.